Yeah, testing up, um, differences in the past and how the tropes have been changing and evolving. And, there's been some sort of like co-opting of previous tropes to like try to give them like a new
I think
political
I might have
spin.
audio now. If you could just restart Mal and give the intro again. Sorry.
Yeah, sure, no problem. You say it in the chats, sorry, the chats, and I'll do it again.
Just literally go now.
Okay. Um, Welcome everybody to the Men's Human Rights server, where the semi-official um, men's rights subreddit Discord server affiliated with them. And today the topic is going to be about men in media and how media portrays men, how media portrays women, for example, and in contrast. We're going to be talking about giving some examples of tropes and how they have evolved over time. Mothi, you had something to say, right? About the topic?
Oh yes, I did. Um, to start, I think it would be really a good idea to discuss like the tropes that come along with it. Like to start the dumb husband trope, or like the deadbeat father, or the lazy male teenager, etc., etc.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Like one of the things that we were talking about before was about how there's a difference between those tropes now and those tropes in the past because those um those ideas, those dynamics are very old. I don't know how old, like maybe 1940s or whatever, but they have changed because in the past it just felt like a complete like writing device to like create comedy, like like these solar opposites, like the man is dumb, but the woman is very like inefficient, and she's not really a leader, and that creates comedy. Or like I don't know, like the woman is neurotic, but the man is very apathetic, so that
Mm.
creates like a dynamic between the two of them, you know. And but nowadays, it feels like people are co-opting those tropes to prop women up and tear men down. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like I think in definitely in modern media, it's just gotten so in your face about it. Like, have any of you seen the new Scooby Doo show?
Is that like the Belma show? Is that the
Yeah,
one?
I call it Scooby Doo because nobody's gonna recognize it by its name.
Ha!
I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
call it the new Scooby
totally.
Doo show.
That's so
um,
funny.
but the main characters, so Velma herself is now black. Shaggy is called Norval. He's black also. The only person that stayed white in the show was Greg, and he's portrayed as like literally incapable, like literally a man child, and it's kind of sad. Because the tropes have just gotten completely out of hand, and I think that's kind of the purpose of satire in the media, to make fun of tropes enough that they don't get out of hand, and that's kind of gone downhill with the whole cancel culture thing.
Hmm. You know what's so funny? I've never seen that show, but I have actually seen some excerpts from some live stream that my friends were doing, and it's very interesting how that show Velma, it tries to be like a 1990s raunchy, very edgy comedy, but they can't really do it. They can't really commit to that because they also are very extremely sanitized 2010 safe comedy. So they're writing on a very like safe edge, trying to say things that sound politically incorrect while in actuality trying to upset literally nobody. So I think that's the only reason why like the character Greg or Fred, whatever he's called, I think that's the only reason why he remained the same. But he has been he has been promoted to the bottom of the joke, because they really can't make fun of like Belma, which is the lead character now. They can't really make fun of her as much as they should by a 1990s standards. They can't make fun of what is the other one, the black guy, Norville Shaggy, that guy. They can't really make fun of him because now he's black. They can't really poke too much fun of like the other girl, like I can't remember her name, but she's now Asian.
Daphne.
So what is he called?
Daphne.
Oh yeah, Daphne. Yeah, Daphne. So they can't really make fun of her that much now. So the only character that remains that they're allowed to make fun of is like the Fred guy. Which is funny because like they actually portray both Shaggy and Fred as extremely pathetic people. Because Shaggy is he's very like
He's
white
kind
knight.
of cowardly.
Yeah, and he doesn't have really the courage of date Belma, or I don't even know if they were dating before, but he really bends to her will.
I thought,
He's very like, oh sorry, go ahead.
I thought he was supposed to be like a pothead in the original one.
He is.
Like just like a dopey pothead that.
Well, yeah, but he's also kind of jittery.
Well, like I haven't seen him being a butthead. I think they completely removed that trait from the character, to be honest.
The thing
but...
that I don't like most about the show is that they removed Scooby. Like, it's an absolute
Oh
travesty.
yeah, totally. That's so funny.
I think we need to get back on track here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, the main problem with the show is that only men can be acceptable targets. This is the basis of that show is, okay, so we've painted ourselves into a corner with wokeness in that the main character is a Mary Sue for one of the writers, quite blatantly so. And we can't make fun of women. We can't make fun of any of the black characters or any of the minority characters. We made all of them minorities, except for one, was the guy who was like the really straight-laced. Well, he was the puppy of the team, I've been told, in the original Scooby-Doo, and he was like the heart of the team. But they've turned him into literally like a monster, but also a baby, because
he's like
targets.
He's like the perfect mix of incapable to the point of annoyance and so extremely capable that you should be afraid of him and sickened by his appearance.
Yeah.
It's like the exact opposite of how feminists are trying to portray women like they're innocent, but they're innocent and incapable and powerless to defend themselves. But they're strong and independent and so on and so forth.
The point.
It's Schrodinger's feminist. It's like women are simultaneously oppressed and can't do shit for themselves, but they're also like really strong and out here beating the fragile male in their own game. You know what I'm saying? It's
like
retired.
it's the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Well, the point of that narrative is the idea that women are completely incapable, except when they submit themselves to feminism, because that's when they gain power, because that's what like feminists want. They want women to feel completely weak and powerless unless they join the group, they join the ideology,
Yeah, because I've seen it a lot when women choose to be independent of feminism. Oh man, all hell breaks loose.
Oh yeah.
They get fucking harassed. Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, but going back to the men in media, topic. Matthew, have you seen this development of very anti-male trope happen in other shows?
I mean, I probably have, but the Velma show is the one that I can think of off the top of my head, or the one that's
yeah.
most blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I totally get it. To be honest, I don't watch too many cartoons, so when it comes to cartoons, there's one that particularly annoyed me so much. It was when I was like younger, there was like a show, very old show. It was a Gumball or something like that. The Amazing
Gumball.
World of the Gumball. So the father, the pink rabbit, I think he is.
Oh
He's
yeah,
portrayed
him.
as he has a very weird portrayal that I don't like because he is a man child portrayed as very weird, and it's not really funny to me because they could have totally made him funny. Like I think the very early seasons of The Simpsons have a very like funny, wacky father who is very dumb and stuff. I like that. I like the Homer Simpson portrayal. But when it comes to like Gumball, he seems so pathetic. And it seems that way because the writers wanted to prompt the mother character up. So the only way they were able to do so is by writing the father as dumber, you know? That's how it feels. So that's a
Also-
problem. Like,
Actually, a classic tactic of feminism generally.
Mhm.
What they do is they tear down the man to make the woman look better. It's really an extremely common practice of people who are very, very self-conscious, but in a toxic way. They don't think they're any good. They think they themselves are rubbish at everything. And so what they do is they tear other people down in order to make themselves look better by comparison. So if everyone else looks awful, then they themselves look good by comparison. It's a really awful defense mechanism, but it's very, very common. It's not very well talked about, except I mean, it did sometimes come up in like 90s media stuff, but it's not something people really talk about now because it's become all about the narcissism, really.
Yeah. Another great example is She-Hulk, the new She-Hulk movie.
oh god,
TV
that
show.
show.
Oh man. Yeah, so basically the entire plot is this woman is She-Hulk and she's a lawyer, and Hulk tries to teach her how to control her anger, which is what triggers her turning into She-Hulk. And she's just basically like, oh no, so that years of like training and learning that you did, yeah, no, I have all of that already. I don't need you.
Yeah, and the explanation was like the funniest part of that because like her explanation was like Bruce had to learn how to control anger because I don't know, the parents die and he
And
becomes
he's
a
a
monster
man and
and
he's
kills
angry and
everyone.
toxic masculinity.
Yeah, and she doesn't have to do anything because she learned how to control her anger because of men and how trash men are and being
Yeah,
gaslighted
that
and all
was
that.
so fucking stupid, bro. Like, if you watch the original Hulk, this motherfucker lost his family, alright, lost his wife and daughter, got tortured at one point, right? Like, they unironically just made her look like a complete fucking moron in comparison to him, right? Like, she, like, managed to control her anger. Why? Because she got catcalled daily. He managed to control his anger because, like, he went through so much tragedy and pain throughout his life. Like, like, which fucking character would you be taking seriously?
Yeah, and then I was about to say, and
Oh,
then,
oh my god, someone
and then the
called
thing
me
at the end
beautiful
where
on the
she's
street,
twerking.
and I didn't immediately fucking dome him. Oh, look at me. I am such a... I am so emotionally controlled. What the fuck is this, bro?
And then the infamous scene at the end where she's twerking. I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
Oh
Dan
my
had
god,
a
bro.
The
That's
magnum
wonderful
opus.
time working for money to do that.
You know,
also like
um,
what I noticed is that when even in the past when people used to write female characters in action movies, like they made them very fucking capable. They didn't make them like a complete fucking morons, you know, like
Except for the Spider-Man movie. Like every
oh
single
yeah.
time. Every single time.
hmm, you know, I do have actually an example of a really good of
No, your voice cut out, Mal. Now.
I do have actually a good example. You still can't hear me?
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now you can hear me. Yeah. So I do actually have an example of a good show that has a really good portrayal of men and women like equally, and that is F is for Family. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's a Bill Burr show. You know, Bill Burr, the comedian, and it's really good because it reminds me of the very old dynamic of both the husband and the wife. They both have problems, but they complement each other and they create comedy because of it, because they're so different. So yeah, the character of Bill Burr, he's very neurotic and angry, and the character of the wife, she's very enabling and supportive.
I get disconnected?
Oh, sorry, you can hear me, right?
Yep, I can hear you at least.
Oh, cool. So I do think I want to propose that as a really good example, and I don't know if anybody has other good examples of like positive portrayals of men.
I think that it's good to portray people with weaknesses or faults because that's what makes them relatable to the reader or the watcher. And I also think it's a good idea to portray like relational faults. So if one person has a fault, then the other person complements that, and it's like a dynamic where one person complements the other person's fault, so that they work well together. If you know what I mean.
Totally.
But not make it like one-sided in Gumball, where one is absolutely useless and a liability, and the other has to do all of the work. Because, like, for example, you know the dumb blonde trait in like horror movies and sitcoms and stuff.
Oh yeah, I
one
remember
really-
that.
That one irks me a lot as well.
Yeah, it's just one note.
Somebody's
You know?
blonde.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is a stereotype, and it is a stupid one because, like, you get smart blonde people, you get stupid blonde people. It's not really a like it's probably derived from something really stupid, like one character in one movie who was really stupid, and so it
I
became
mean, it
something
can work that way.
mean.
You know how allegedly bunnies like carrots.
They do not.
Yeah, it was actually
But
Bugs
yeah, I've
Bunny
heard that.
eating a carrot that popularized that.
Yeah. The carrots are actually really bad for rabbits. But
No.
I had no
yeah,
idea.
they attract like worms or something. But
That's weird. Anyways,
yeah,
back
I
to
won't get into the gross details, but don't give your rabbits carrots.
Oh.
Anyway, the it is a lot to do with how things are, like how things have been done for a while. So things have a knock-on effect. It's interesting that the new D&D movie, which I was so rooting for after the old crappy D&D movies, and the plot idea sounded really good. It sounded like an actual D&D game. But the creators were like, yeah, it's new and fresh to demasculize men and have the women be the masculine ones. And
all they needed to do was.
I was like,
girl
are you
barbarian.
serious? Like, old movies did this. Like, I can point to silent movies that have done that.
Yeah.
Buster Keaton.
Yeah, there aren't many movies that are movies like made after games that are very good. It
Well,
just doesn't work too well.
is that like D&D movie with Harry Calvin, the Superman guy?
I don't know, but D&D is actually one of the things which could break that rule because it's not really
I
a
guess-
game
Oh yeah, because
so
its
much
main
as
plot,
it's a
because
world.
its main game point is like storytelling, which is basically just a movie. So
Yeah.
I guess that
Oh
could
yeah.
work. I guess that
But
could
you
work
know,
a little bit better.
You know, it's funny, like the premise of following a group of D&D players is very old. Because even like I remember my parents watching the very old cartoon Dexter, the Dexter's Laboratory. There's one chapter, not chapter, there's one episode. There's one episode where Dexter and some friends are playing, and the sister DD, she's like the game master or something. So it's so old. It's a very old premise. And even like nowadays, they still mess it up when it's so simple, you know?
I mean, I thought you were going to talk about the actual Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, which is actually pretty legendary for being like good for its time. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, but anyway, it's like these are things that are tropes built on tropes. So like, don't hate me, but the Cosby Show from the 90s did these feminists boys are stupid, girls are smart tropes. Like, I posted a clip of that on my Twitter ages ago. It's like the little girl is being fed lines by adult scriptwriters to humiliate this little boy on TV. And it's
Wow.
like, it is so painful to watch. It's just like, I mean, you get this a lot. You get this with every like the more corporate the sitcom, the more likely you are to have stupid father, smart, sarcastic, nasty mother who basically batters the father around, and little girl character who is smarter than the dad and is smarter than anyone. You're basically the Lisa Simpson, but also, unlike Lisa, is really, really overtly nasty about it, like really rub it in people's faces and really is always trying to do the gotcha on the dad and stuff like that. And yeah, that's the dynamic. And you'll have the little boy character who's older than the little girl character but also dumber, because the boy can't be smarter than the girl. It like the boy has got to be the screw up who does all the bad things, and then the girl has to come in and correct it, or the mother. And it'll be the boy and the dad who do the bad thing, and then that's how it works. The girls have to be perfect, not in the sense that they're actually perfect, but in the sense that they're portrayed as perfect, even though they are incredibly nasty people usually in these shows. Which ironically makes the male characters much more relatable than the female characters, because nobody actually likes the female characters in these shows except from the point of view of wanting to be that nasty to a man, because they just hate men.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot actually. Where they try to make, this is so funny because it reminds me of the She-Hulk thing. Like they try to make there's a lawyer, and they try to make him the butt of every joke, but it backfires because it makes him look sympathetic instead, and it makes the lead She-Hulk character look ridiculous and nasty. So that's pretty funny when it backfires like that. And there's a reason why I like The Simpsons, well, the older seasons, because the dynamic was so cool and interesting. Because like Lisa, she's smart, but she can't relate to the mother at all because Marge, she's not smart at all, and the father Homer, he sacrifices so much to keep like the Lisa, the daughter, what she needs. Like the saxophone, and then working in the nuclear plant for the other girl, Maggie. I think it's a really good dynamic, and I like The Simpsons.
It was
because
to
of it.
start with. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
original series was like that. The dad wasn't actually that. Homer wasn't actually stupid. That's the thing. In the original series, he was a little bit incompetent, but he wasn't blindingly stupid. He wasn't malicious either.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was this
What?
really caring father figure who was really
He
flawed.
wasn't malicious.
Exactly.
No, he
had a
wasn't
heart of
malicious in the
gold
original
on the
show.
very First, he had a heart of
Yeah,
gold
in the first few
episodes.
seasons.
Yeah.
But later on, this whole dynamic became corrupted, and he became like this total moron who causes most of the problems. And Bart started to degrade as well. Bart used to be like the audience character for the boys. Lisa was the audience character for the girls, and Bart was the audience character for the boys. And that degraded into basically hot garbage. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's episodes where Lisa, like, if you want a classic example of this, there's the episode where Lisa thinks she's becoming stupider because Bart is becoming stupider. Like, Bart, like, the show actually points out that Bart has become more stupid as the show progressed. But it points it out by calling it some sort of, I don't know, genetic illness in the Simpson family. And Lisa goes on TV saying that she's terrified that she's going to lose her intelligence because she noticed that Bart used to be a straight A student and that he went down to B's and then C's and F's. But then she finds out at the end of the show that it's just the boys who are stupid, and the girls, like Lisa, her mother, and her like scientist female relations, gather
Well,
around
not
the
her
window.
mother, because her mother is actually a Bouvier, not a Simpson, but
Yeah.
every Simpson
well-
women who are
She's
in
still
her direct
included in that.
bloodline on her side, on the Simpson side of the family.
Yeah, the writers really messed up that one when they included the mother too.
But yeah, the male members of the family are outside with saucepans on their heads, headbutting each other, and it's like it's really degrading. Like there's other episodes too, like where they get a babysitter who's a feminist, and she like dangles a games cartridge in front of Bart's face and gets him to run into a wall. And then there's the one with the hamster and the muffin, where Lisa determines that her brother is less smart than a hamster, because the hamster eventually stops trying to grab a muffin that has electrical wires in it.
Yeah.
Like Bart keeps electrocuting himself.
What would have been really interesting as an episode? Like, they, in the episode where, like, they realize Bart is becoming dumber. It would have been so cool to, like, the conclusion to that episode would be, like, it's actually a failure in the education system as to why, like, Bart is becoming a worse student. That would have been actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, they've actually took the male education crisis and they turned it into basically a victory for women. Like they said, women are just smarter than boys. That's why it is. Like we've had actual people in the media say this, like girls are just smarter. It's not because boys are being failed or anything, or being marked down deliberately, which we have proof of, quite a lot of proof of now. And nobody seems to care about that, even though we found proof that the Irish education system was doing it at a national level. Like they were automatically lowering the mark of boys and raising the mark of girls. I mentioned this on the Irish subreddits, and people are like they didn't care, And they said, why are you talking about this? It's like they actually got angry at me. It's like, we've got to, like, it's this system which is set up to gaslight people into thinking boys are stupid and girls are smarter, when in fact they're the same species, the same level of intelligence. But like, it's all to prop up people's egos. And boys are, this is the thing, boys are an acceptable loss. Men are an acceptable loss. They're quite happy to throw boys and men in front of the bus to make women and girls feel slightly better about themselves. And it's extremely depressing, and ultimately it's the sort of thing that causes civilizations to collapse very, very slowly, very, very quietly, just imploding on themselves. I mean, this is the situation we've got now. The men and boys in our society are disillusioned. Why are they disillusioned? Well, because the media tells them they're awful. The schools tell them they're awful. Like, the schools will actually stand up and say men are like the cause of all our problems. They'll make the boys stand up in class for an hour on Women's Day just to make the girls feel more narcissistic, better about themselves. And they will, they do all these sorts of things. They spend, like, before a boy hits 13, he's probably already disillusioned because of all the media focus saying that he should, he's dumber than the girls. Like, the cartoons will literally say this. We should really be reviewing cartoons and, like, children's media, because adults really don't pay attention to children's media, which makes them a great place for people with malicious intent to sneak their ideas in. So we have to pay more attention to this. I've been telling people for ages, watch children's media, look through it, study it, and find out what they're telling people, because find out what they're teaching your children, because they will actually stick feminism in there. They will stick anti-male propaganda in there. They'll stick all kinds of weird and kind of creepy things in there, but nobody's watching it except the kids, so nobody really knows. It's kind of predatory. No, it is predatory. It is outright predatory, and we really need to pay attention to it.
I think that's kind of the...
Marty.
Yes, thank you. I think that's kind of the point of satire, to, like, poke fun at the things that other people find strange, and that's kind of the problem nowadays with cancel culture, is because people can't really do satire because they'll just get called, like, a boomer or whatever, and satire is important for that very purpose of kind of poking fun at the flaws of different ways of thinking.
True.
Well, we do need to satirize it. Like, we need to... it'd be really good if we can make some sort of parody of, like, these shows where, like, let's say the setup is it's a family sitcom, and they're doing the dress rehearsal almost. So they've got their scripts around, and the dad is actually like a genius, but the actor is having to pretend to be a really stupid guy, and he's complaining about it because he feels like it's really beneath him or something like that, and he keeps turning to the camera and or something like that. Yeah, I think you could get quite a few jokes out of that. The problem is that this what was originally a subversion of like family dynamics, because it was originally the whole thing was the husband would work all day, and you'd have like the Bewitched, I think it's Bewitched or something like that, or Genie and I sort of thing, where the husband works all day and then he comes home and the wife just sort of throws herself at him and is very loving and caring. And then she demonstrates her domestic goddessness by having dinner ready, and the man is very appreciative of her, and it's all very traditional and sort of stuff like that. But instead of that, you have the drunk, useless husband who comes home to a wife who insists that he cook his own dinner, and or is very henpecked, not very henpecked, but very Marge, where it's very clear that the authors don't approve of the idea of a stay-at-home mother. Or it's this sort of thing. It's like they're not really inverting anything. They're more sorts of corrupting what's traditionally been the case, like what's traditionally been shown on TV, which has always been this sort of if you want a satire of that, an actual satire of that, the opening few episodes of that Scarlet Witch and what's that robot guy's name?
I remember
Marvel.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The opening
remember
few
that.
episodes of that were pretty spot on for what it was like. It's the husband is bullied by his boss, and she's at home, and she's this perfect domestic goddess, literally, and she makes the plates fly through the air and stuff like that. And if you want to see a real example of this, The Munsters is a really good one. It's a very wholesome show about a Frankenstein and his wife, and it's all very loving, but it's this sort of thing that they take and then they say, how can we pervert this into something twisted and make it seem like everything that's going on is evil and broken down and stuff like that, when in fact it's really what the middle classes would do, because the lower classes would actually, the woman would work and the man would work, and the woman might work from home a lot of the time, but she would work in the lower class families. I mean, this whole thing that feminists have of saying that being a woman is domestic slavery, yet that's an upper class bored housewife problem. That's not a problem for actual lower class women. I mean, I'll tell you what the women in my family used to do. They used to go out and get bloody jobs. I'm talking back in the era before feminism really took off. It is they had to get jobs because they had a lot of kids and they were very poor, and just having one person working wasn't enough.
True. That actually reminds me of my grandmother, because my grandmother, she lived in rural Ireland, and she had a job as a dishwasher. She would wash other people's clothes by hand on a river, actually. And it was really hard work, and she had to do it for long periods of time. And she would actually cook for other people, and that's how she would make money, She would do chores and stuff.
My grandmother owned her own shop for a little while.
Wow. What type of shop?
It was sweets, general sort of stuff. She ran it out of her house. It was very small, but it she was working. This was, she would work from home and running this little shop, and from what I hear, it failed because she was too nice and she would just give people things. But it's basically she had to work as well. I mean, it was just a fact of life then that everyone had to work, because only the rich, the wealthy, the bourgeoisie could actually afford to have one parents staying at home, not working, looking after the kids. And if you read feminist literature and you look into the feminists who wrote them, the origin of this idea that women staying at home is domestic slavery comes from like a rich middle class gang of feminists who were very well to do. I think the woman who actually originated it was a millionaire. And yeah, this is the epitome of first world problems, because if you go to like the third world, the women work. Like, you know, I mean, they may have to gather water and stuff like that, but it's like while they're doing that, they'll also do laundry for people or sew things, or they'll, you know, they do what they can. And it is a myth that like women in work is a new thing. I mean, if you actually look at feminist literature, this debunks this, because they talk about the Fosse girls, the girls who used to paint phosphorus on the hands of watches, which was awful work because they didn't have any safety equipment, and like they were told to lick the brushes to get them sharp, so that they could paint accurately, and so they're eating as much paint as they were putting on the things, and so they got Fosse jaw and their faces rotted off, which is absolutely terrible. Yes, Reaper, I'm sure you're in as bad a position. Yeah.
Are you talking about the girls that dyed their hair like bright blonde with whatever chemical, and then that like made them bald later in life?
No.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Fosse girls.
The dial painters. They painted the numbers on
Yeah.
watches. And they've been put in lead caskets now, but they're still like radioactive.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
that's kind of weird.
Is there any
Yeah, it's kind of awful too.
You know, while
Sorry.
we were talking about this, is there any sort of like forum with the men's rights? Like, I'm looking up at my ceiling right now. I need somebody to do work on my roof. Is there any sort of stuff that we've set up where we can like connect with people who need work like that?
Not really.
That'll be
on
an
them.
interesting. It's an interesting
Yeah.
concept.
Maybe that would be good to like be able to hire someone that supports the cause in your area, because even if like somebody has to drive a couple hours, like to redo a whole roof would be worth it, and things like that.
So-
If we set up some sort of on the forum, some sort of like work needed or something like that with skilled work.
That
That's
may
a
be
really
worth-
cool idea, actually.
Yeah. But it's always a good idea to give the local people, you know, the opportunity to work too. You know, it's always
You
like
could
Yeah,
touch them in
I
sheds.
think building communities like that is an excellent idea.
yeah.
Hey, Kathleen, you might actually be thinking of the men's sheds in a way.
In the
Yeah.
what? Oh, the
The
what?
men's sheds.
Yeah, it did sound kind of like that. It's not.
Hmm.
It's not completely like it, but it is quite similar.
I don't know what you're
Yeah, they
saying.
do take.
Men sheds.
It's all right.
Do you want to explain it to her?
Yeah.
Or should I?
You can go ahead and explain it, Matthew.
So men's sheds is basically kind of like an alternative form of male-only therapy. It's like instead of talking about stuff, it's doing stuff, or just hanging out in community with other men. So they'll create things, maybe do woodworking, etc. Just activities, and
Yeah. Like,
as a form of therapy.
true. It normally involves woodworking, but I've also seen people use animal therapy, for example, like working in like animal houses. That works too. That's part of the therapy. You know, woodworking, like making like houses for like birds or whatever.
I did some work with people doing horse therapy. If any of you all remember Richard, he I self-identifies as an incel. I really recommended to try to get him into horse therapy. And it never really worked out. But I think anything like that, and I work with the Mennonite community here. So everything I build for the Hawks outside, I have Mennonites do it. But I still think if we could get people involved in the men's rights that are saying well, I can't find work right now. If, we provide a supportive area where they could work with other people, maybe that would be really great.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Ma, do you wanna wrap this up, or do you wanna keep going?
Well, I think that we should probably talk to Kathleen in private about how we would organize something like that, because it might be something we'd have to talk to the sub about. But yeah, okay, let's wrap this up. I think we've covered most of it.
Cool. So I take us out. So thank you everyone for listening. This has been the Men's Human Rights Server, semi-official men's rights subreddit Discord server. Today is the 18th of March, 2023. We love to hear everything that you have to say. We always listen for suggestions and topics, whatever you guys want to send in. And we'll see you in the server. Thank you for listening.